little skinny.
So you play. So you go to Clemson and you make it onto the football team there.
I did, yeah.
Was
Well,
that hard?
it was a preferred walk on. It was like already pretty mapped out for me. So they already had a spot for me.
And what was that training like there? What were the demands physically?
Um, we did a bunch of um, agility stuff. We obviously ran like had our conditioning and did gassers and we ran 120s and we did all that stuff. We did a bunch of just weightlifting. We cleaned a lot of weight. We bench pressed, we squatted, we did a bunch of dumbbell stuff. The intensity wasn't necessarily high. We were just trying to get like swollen and bulked up. But then we would go and obviously do the conditioning part, move, push sleds around, do agility stuff, cone work, all that stuff. So yeah, it was awesome.
And because those sports, baseball and football, when I think of them relative to CrossFit, I think the time domains that you are asked to be at full blast are much shorter than CrossFit, correct?
Yeah, correct. We're talking about 4 seconds on a football field versus 20 minutes.
And then how did you cross paths with CrossFit?
So I had to take a year off to play football at Clemson. I couldn't get into school because I thought I was going to get. I had a few scholarships to play football out of college or high school, and I never got the scholarship from Clemson. So they gave me the preferred walk on, and so they said, hey, you have to have these kind of grades to get in, and you have a spot on the team. Well, I didn't even have the grades to get in because I was all of high school. I was like, I'm going to get a scholarship, don't have to worry about grades. So played on my iPad all high school, and it ended up costing me. So then I had to take my SAT, didn't pass to get into Clemson, and had to take a year off. So it was basically like you take a year off, go to this tech school, or you go to one of these smaller schools to full ride play football. And I wanted to play football at Clemson. So I ended up taking a whole gap year of not doing anything, and that's when I got into CrossFit because I didn't have access to a gym over there. Just couldn't like go work out in their gym. And so I looked up CrossFit gyms and went and tried it one time, and I said, this will get me at least in shape, man. And I grew and started loving it, dude. Started loving the intensity, started loving just competing. There was that competing aspect with members in class, and it was awesome, man. I loved it from the jump.
When you showed up on the football team, could you tell that your fitness, I'm assuming it was adequate relative to the other guys, but did you stand out there for what you could do in the gym and what you could do in training?
hmm Yeah, so this kind of started before I jumped into CrossFit. I was a conditioned a dude in high school. Conditioned, man. I made sure I was the dude that was sticking behind after practice. I made sure I was the first person winning our 120 yards. We did 120s from goalpost to goalpost. We ran these things like 30 times with like 20 seconds of rest. We did a bunch of track stuff. We did like you run 800, you rest 60, 600 twice, rest 60, 400 three times, rest 60. So the whole conditioning part kind of transferred over. So when they're like, hey, the whole 7 seconds thing. I was like doing the conditioning aspect of it since middle school, and so that part kind of transferred over. Like I said, I've always been, a conditioned guy, and the strength obviously transferred over after I did a year of CrossFit. So yeah, for the most part.
So
Now
you,
there's some I couldn't go in there and bench like 315 or squat the house, but I made sure I was hustling.
so you held your own there. They weren't like, "Hey, this is the new guy. He's the slow man on the team. He's the weak
No,
link." You showed
no,
up and you
no.
were,
I wasn't very fast. I'm not a very fast guy, but I made sure I can go longer periods of time.
and you. That's important in a lot of areas of life. You don't have to be the fast guy. You just want to be able to
Right,
put in the time. Makes for a good man.
right.
Um, Tell me, you played wide receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, so you got to be pretty fast.
Well, not not compared to these other guys. Not nearly. I was the Jerry Rice of the team, man. I had the hands. I made sure I could run good routes. That's how I got to play football at Clemson. It was not the speed. It was not necessarily the talent, if you will, because these guys were like 5 stars, man. I knew I was going to hustle. I knew I could. It was on the details, man. I knew I had to pay attention, watch film, run good routes, and get it done in other parts of my game other than just being naturally just talented, jumping out the air and being 6 foot tall or 6'6" and running a 4.4.
When I hear you,
What does that mean? Good routes. Sorry, Brian. What does that mean? Good routes.
Yeah, so when you're a route runner, you got to be precise, man. It's all about footwork. It's all about like how many steps, how fast or efficient can you get out of a break. So if you watch someone at a high caliber, like in college or NFL, and you watch them break down, and like let's say they were running 10 yards and in, the efficiency and like the technique to make that cut and separate themselves from the DB takes a lot of technique. Takes a lot. Like you can get people off with your eyes, your head, your arms. You can like get a little elbow, and then there's the footwork aspects to it, man. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you got to be dialed in on.
when I hear you say that, there's one particular NFL receiver that comes to mind because I've heard him say something similarly. Is it that's currently in the NFL? I'm curious if there's anyone in particular that you kind of look up to or try to model after for that efficiency in the details.
Wes Welker was really good at it. Hunter Renfrow I played ball at Clemson with Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow is in the NFL now.
The guy,
not really.
The guy I was thinking of is Michael Thomas, because I've heard him talk about this before, and he's like, I don't care what physical attributes you think you have across the line.
Oh, yeah.
My precision, accuracy, and attention to detail is going to get me where I need to be before you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I thought you were talking about some white dudes. So the white dudes, me, I can't run a 4.3, but if you can run a 4.3, 4.4, and then you can do all that stuff, man. I mean, you're a Hall of Famer, man. But I felt like I said, I was bigger, so I was slow off the line. So a DB didn't have to be as quick. They just had to make sure that they could. I was probably bigger than most DBs, so they just made sure they were like just on my butt the whole time, where I was going to have to create separations through technique.
Did they ever try you at any other positions besides receiver?
No. I was going to play tight end. I wasn't 220 in college, man. I was about 205, but the weightlifting, man, got me like so big. We were just doing a bunch of curls, dude. I'm talking about like hammer curls. They call them Armageddon, man. You go from like 15s and you do 10 reps and you just go up all the line, man. And we were cleaning. We were doing everything, man. And I just got super just massive, man. And the food was free. So it was like, you're eating this all the time. And I mean, it was like gourmet meals. You play at Clemson. I mean, it's all free, man. Steaks, everything you want for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I got super big, about 215, 220. And that made me slower. And so then I was like, well, maybe I could just keep doing this and go play tight end at 240. And I was like, well, then I'm definitely going to be too small. Because then I've never blocked. I'm a pretty boy. Don't like blocking. Don't like getting hit hard. So, didn't like that. But I was like, if it gets me to the NFL, it gets me to the NFL. But then at that point, I was like, I'm just going to quit and do something else.